Hi guys, welcome to sprint 30 of Dogen, Estádio Joaquim Moraes. So this sprint is a bit of a long one really. Not long in terms of elapsed time I guess, but long in terms of a lot of work, a lot of stuff on it. The main feature that we really worked on was org mode support. So we'll do a quick demo. I mean, if you really want to see org mode, probably need to watch the videos to understand a bit more in depth, but just to give a flavor of what we've done. So in the past, I mean, if I fire off dia, let's just get ourselves a dia diagram, and not sure what diagrams. Okay, this diagram is still around. So in the past we used dia for all of our editing needs, and as you can see here, this is a perfectly reasonable YAML diagram where we've manually done all the editing here for this diagram, placed all these boxes in the right places, and then as we've always done, we can always take this diagram and generate Dogen from it, source code from it using Dogen. However, there are disadvantages to this approach, as you may have noticed from the previous videos. For instance, you can't just copy and paste things, so I can't just put this inside of that namespace. You'd have to actually recreate this by copy and pasting. When you're trying to edit more complicated aspects of a diagram, such as, for example, trying to edit templates, it's actually quite cumbersome, and the maintenance of the diagram itself is also not cheap, really. That plus the list of issues that we mentioned on the release notes made us want to look for a slightly more reasonable format to in which to store our diagrams in. And so we looked into org mode. What I'll do is I'll just give a quick look at the same diagram but represented it as org mode using our new org mode format. So as you can see here, the properties, these are the properties that you see here instead of that comment. The properties are now represented as an org mode drawer, property drawer. And of course now you're inside of Emacs, so you can do the usual things in Emacs. You can copy and paste, you can change to your heart's content. It's just regular text. In addition, if I make spelling errors and so forth, Emacs will help me. And I can also use the features in Emacs for managing text. So for instance, I could just indent the paragraphs. And if I, let's say I want to copy some documentation from somewhere else, for example, this is documentation for a headline, I could very simply just paste the document here, and then using the usual Emacs commands, not that command, curse of the demos I guess, using the typical Emacs commands, you can just process the text, and you'll end up with something that vaguely resembles real world text. And so as you can see here, this is treated just like a document. It's very easy to edit, very easy to copy and paste. It's just like a regular document really. It's just like a regular org mode document, which is really good, and which really reinforces our notions of models as sort of literate modeling, as I mentioned in the release notes. And then once you're happy enough that you've done everything, I mean, I probably will remove this bit here. Yeah, let's just remove this bit and say something. Oh, actually, let's just put that back actually, and instead just have a comment like represents a headline in org mode, and then we can leave the rest. Can't quite remember the Doxia notation, but well, it's for the purposes of an example, that's probably sufficient. And then once you're happy enough with this, you can just regenerate the models, and then if we just quickly go to look at the diffs, as you can see here, the generated code now, what I'll do is for good measure, I'll just open up eldenline.hpp after generation. And as you can see here, the generated code okay, we seem to have somehow managed to break the generation, actually, cursed the demos. I'm not entirely sure why we're including the headline itself in the headline, but the key thing really is that you can see that the generated code now contains the comments nicely formatted. In fact, actually, while we're there, I mean, this is supposed to be a demo, but while we're here, out of curiosity, let's just see how exactly that happened. I think we just, when we're copying and pasting, we probably got ourselves to a bit of a tangle. Let's have a look. So, here's headlines. Yeah, that actually looks perfectly sensible. Actually, I wonder if we found a possible bug in that. It's interesting that this was not noticed. I wonder if when you include the... Yeah, I think, funnily enough, we did find a bug here. Let's just report this bug. This bug is not part of the demo, not due to the change that I made just now. But it is a bug, and it wasn't picked up because I don't think that GCC or client gave me a warning for it, which is very interesting. So type that references itself results in a recursive include. So this is probably sufficient for us to remember. In org mode headline, we seem to be including the headline itself. Right, so this is sufficient for us to remember where we're going. Let's just not get too distracted from the demo we're trying to do here. So the problem seems to be here that for whatever reason Dogen is actually including headline itself. And as you can imagine, the reason why is because when we go back to the model, headlines have got a variable or a property of type headline, and I think Dogen is just not clever enough to realize that there's a recursion here, and then it tries to create an include. What is interesting is that when you try to compile this code and run tests, it compiles just fine. We shall see. But this is the gist of the work. It is just this ability that we have now to manage our models as if they were simple org mode documents, and with a great focus now on just using plain org mode functionality. Like, for example, say we'd like to insert a UID here for our custom ID. If we just use a typical Emacs Lisp command. We can filter, we can use org mode selection commands, we can convert this into an attribute, and pretty much everything that you can do with org modes. It is just a regular org mode document, so you can do it whatever you like with org mode. We can cross-reference as well. So for instance, if I'd like to now take this link and follow it, well actually it followed it over to the browser. Normally this would give me an option to open this in Emacs. And you can of course create other types of links within the document and so on. So this will make modeling much more of a literate sort of exercise as opposed to the current type of modeling that we're doing, which is more of a UI sort of facing sort of experience. So that's org mode support. Plant.uml support. Well, the problem really is that, as you can see, this is not a particularly visual thing. So the slight downside of this approach is that you cannot see the diagram as a UML diagram anymore. So what we've done is we added support to UML. You can just using the typical convert command, you can just convert the diagram over to SVG using plant.uml, and then the results. Actually, let's just open this up via the plant.uml modes in Emacs. So if I regenerate this, Emacs will then display the SVG representation of this model. Which is what you see here. Now I didn't really update the model, so let's just regenerate that after our changes. It does take a few seconds. Well, we are generating every single model as well. So what this enables us to do is it's sort of the best of both worlds. We still have the ability to have some kind of representation which is sort of a UI representation, but it is generated rather than manually managed. So as you can see here, now the model has been updated in Plant.ml. And when you regenerate, I mean, this is already written in SVG, but I'm just doing it from within Emacs, and now you can see everything has been updated, including the comment. Now Emacs, the SVG mode in Emacs is not the best to visualize these images. At least we haven't quite got our head around it yet. So what we tend to do instead is we tend to use the browser. If I just move the browser window to this side, we tend to use the browser for this purpose. And if I just locate the org mode model, now we still, I must say, this feature was just introduced this sprint, so we haven't quite got our head around best practices really. But what we'll do is we'll just open up a new one. So as you can see, it's still a little bit rusty now. How I manage this, but the gist of it, you should be able to get it very quickly. You just made that change. You can see the changes come through in UML. You can see the comment. You can see the class represented here. You'll also notice that the relationships between classes are not coming through just yet. There's some more work required than that. We will continue to work on that in the next few sprints. But the bulk of the work is here, which is really what we're interested in. At least now you can have some form of visualization of the diagrams. So with this, we got enough now, and we've demonstrated that in the previous during the sprint. We've got enough now to move away from Dia and to just use basically these two representations for all our work, which was really what we're looking for, and was a dependency in order for us to get to writing. So that was quite good. The final feature that we added to Dogen this sprint, which is user-facing, is if I just go up to a shell. So just need to locate Dogen. So as you can see here in the generation, we now have a new parameter called reference directory. And what the reference directory does is, I mean, we still have a spelling error here, which has been fixed, I believe. What the reference directory enables you to do is it enables you to supply one or more directories for the location of models. And in the past, we used to lump all the models together in one big directory, which was not too bad, but it wasn't really ideal either. The way we look at the world, each component should really be self-contained, and that includes all the source code, all the modeling, everything that belongs to that component. And that wasn't possible because we needed multiple directories. So with this release now, you can add as many minus reference directories as required when you're building a model, and Dogen will search those directories. And then what that allows you to do then is it allows you to then keep your so within a component, for example, this is our org component, dogen.org. Within this model, we now have all the modeling things, the org representation, the Plant.ml representation, the SVG representation. And as other things will get generated, such as, for example, I don't know, for example, the products, log files, things like that, they will all come under here. So it makes it really easy to manage your modeling stuff. It's all under the same place. So very easy to locate. And it's much easier way of doing things than before, where we used to have one top-level modeling directory. So that's kind of it really for the user-facing features in this sprint. There was a lot of work and a lot of internal work that was carried out in the sprint, but really the user-facing features are the things we really were keen to do, because those are dependencies for the writing that we need to do. And all in all, it was quite a pleasant sprint in the end, because we managed to get all this work done, and it seems to be working okay. I mean, it's not perfect, of course. There are issues, but it is good enough. It's good enough for what we're trying to do, and so that's quite good. So now we'll probably have a bit of a hiatus, excuse me, in terms of the coding, because we need now to focus on writing. But once we go back to the coding, we will just continue the work we're doing at the moment in terms of the physical model. So we've managed to sort of clean up almost all of Dogen now. The architecture is looking very similar to what we wanted, to the designed architecture, I guess you could say. But we didn't finish the job. There's lots of little mop-up exercises that still need to be done. And that's where we're going to go back to when we finish with writing. Okay, that's all for this sprint. Thanks very much for watching.